There is a small flat in North London, where the air still remembers her laughter. A half-finished diary on the table, a lamp left burning through the night, the only witness to a flame that once lit up British cinema. Her name was Charlotte Coleman, and for a brief, shining moment, she made the world believe that innocence could still exist on screen. When she appeared in 4 Weddings and a Funeral, audiences saw not an actress but a heartbeat, something real in an age of polished charm. Yet even as her smile filled the screen, something inside her was quietly slipping away. Behind the laughter, there were pages of loneliness. Behind the warmth, a battle with the cold of silence. Charlotte's life was not destroyed by scandal, nor swallowed by fame. It simply stopped too soon, too quietly, too alone. She was meant to burn for decades. Instead, she became the bright flame that burned too fast. Charlotte Ninon Coleman was born in London in 1968, into a world already steeped in performance. Her mother, actress Anne Beach, and her father, television producer Francis Coleman, raised her among scripts and stage lights, but no one could have predicted how naturally she would glow beneath them. From her early days in children's television to her breakout role in Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, Charlotte's gift was unmistakable. She didn't act, she was. Every emotion appeared unfiltered, alive, heartbreakingly human. Then came 4 Weddings and a Funeral in 1994, the film that redefined British romantic comedy. As Scarlett, the quirky, free-spirited flatmate, Charlotte brought a spontaneous warmth that no script could write. Her performance made her unforgettable. Directors saw potential. Audiences saw sincerity. The industry saw a rising star who could last a lifetime. But fame has a quiet cruelty. It celebrates you, then isolates you. After the applause fades, the silence grows louder. For Charlotte, the lights of success only deepened the shadows she carried within. She was Britain's next beloved face, but even as her name was whispered in casting rooms and red carpets, a different story was already unfolding. One she never had the chance to tell. What was behind the light? Charlotte Coleman's story began far from the grand sets that would one day immortalize her smile. Born in Islington, she grew up surrounded by art yet never blinded by it. Acting wasn't a dream, it was simply part of life, like breathing. As a child, she appeared on British television in Worzel Gummidge and Educating Marmalade, small roles that revealed a spark of mischief behind her wide, curious eyes. Even then, directors noticed something rare, a kind of honesty that could not be taught. By her teens, she had already lived more on camera than most actors do in a lifetime. But her turning point came in 1990, when she starred in the BBC's Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, adapted from Jeanette Winterson's novel. The role of Jess, a young woman confronting identity and faith, was raw, complex, and emotionally demanding. Charlotte played it not as a performance but as a confession. The result was electric, a BAFTA for Best Actress, and the arrival of a new kind of British star. Unlike others of her generation, Charlotte didn't rely on glamour or ambition. She carried an authenticity that made people trust her instantly. When she entered a scene, the air seemed to soften. When she laughed, it felt unscripted, real. Hollywood would soon call. But she stayed close to London, the city whose rhythms matched her own fragile heartbeat. She wasn't chasing fame, she was chasing truth, even if it burned her fingers to touch it. With success came a quieter, more invisible struggle. After 4 Weddings and a Funeral turned her into Britain's sweetheart, Charlotte found herself in a world that loved her reflection, but rarely saw the person beneath it. Directors wanted her to play the charming oddball, the same spontaneous girl who had captured hearts. The roles blurred together, and so did her sense of self. In interviews, she smiled, laughed, and brushed off questions about fame. But in private, her journals told another story. Lines written late at night revealed a restless mind, fears of being forgotten, doubts about her worth, and the loneliness of being adored by strangers. "Everyone wants to know Scarlett," one entry read, "but no one really wants to know Charlotte." She struggled to keep her identity intact as the film industry moved faster, louder, and less forgiving. Her sensitivity, the very quality that made her acting luminous, became her burden. Friends described her as tender, almost too open for the world she lived in. Fame had opened every door, but it had also taken away the small, safe corners where she could simply exist. As the years passed, offers came less frequently. The tabloids lost interest, the phones rang less, and the silence she had once longed for began to feel like exile. Charlotte was not ruined by scandal or arrogance. She was undone by the simple, human ache of wanting to belong and the unbearable cost of being seen only through the light of a single role. By the late 1990s, the glow of Charlotte Coleman's early fame had dimmed into something softer, almost invisible. She still acted small television dramas, stage productions, the occasional film, but the world that once celebrated her had moved on to newer, louder faces. For someone who had never chased the spotlight, its absence still felt strangely cold. Her friends spoke of a woman who oscillated between laughter and silence, one moment radiant, the next withdrawn. The industry's indifference was one thing, the loneliness it left behind was another. She filled her days with reading, sketching, and writing in notebooks that no one else would see. In those pages, she often described feeling adrift, as if fame had been a wave that carried her too far from shore. Health, too, became a growing concern. She had long struggled with asthma, but stress and exhaustion made it worse. Yet she rarely complained. The public still remembered her as that cheerful, unpredictable spark from 4 weddings and a funeral, and she didn't want to break the illusion. There is something quietly tragic about an artist whose honesty becomes her undoing. Charlotte never learned how to pretend off-screen. She felt deeply, cared deeply, and carried the weight of every disappointment like it belonged to her alone. Her light hadn't gone out, it was simply flickering, fighting against the draft of indifference. She was still here, still trying, still hoping that someone, somewhere, would remember her not for a role, but for who she really was. It was November 2001 inches North London, a quiet evening, unremarkable to anyone but her. Charlotte Coleman had spent the day at home, preparing to see friends later that week. She was 33, still young enough to dream, still holding on to hope that new chapters might begin. But that night, her body gave out before her dreams could. A severe asthma attack struck while she was alone in her flat. No one heard her. No one came. Hours passed before anyone realized the light inside had gone out. When the news broke, it felt impossible. The girl who had made Britain laugh and cry with effortless warmth was gone, suddenly, silently. Colleagues and friends spoke of her generosity, her brightness, her shy humor. Hugh Grant, her co-star, described her as the purest energy in the room. Fans left flowers outside her home, uncertain what else to do. The press covered her passing briefly, then moved on. No scandal, no controversy, just the kind of quiet exit that never makes headlines. But for those who knew her, or even once felt her sincerity on screen, the loss was seismic. There was no final curtain call, no grand farewell. Only a lamp left burning in her empty apartment, and the lingering sense that she had gone not because her flame failed, but because she had burned brighter than her body could bear. In the years since that quiet November night, Charlotte Coleman's name has faded from the headlines but not from memory. Her performances, though few, remain untouched by time. Every rewatch of 4 weddings and a funeral feels like a meeting with someone impossibly alive. That mischievous grin, that spark of unfiltered humanity, it still reaches through the screen, reminding us that sincerity never ages. Those who knew her speak of a woman whose kindness was effortless, whose sensitivity was both her gift and her burden. Her mother once said that Charlotte's presence could change the temperature of a room not because she demanded attention, but because she radiated something gentle, something real. In an industry obsessed with surfaces, she gave the world something it rarely sees: authenticity. She never learned to fake a smile, and maybe that's why hers still lingers in the hearts of those who remember. Charlotte's story is not one of tragedy, but of truth, the truth that even brief lives can leave eternal echoes. She may have burned too fast, but she illuminated the space she touched, and in every soft laugh that flickers across a late-night film screen, her light still glows. Fame is supposed to make us immortal, to keep our names burning long after the lights go out. But Charlotte Coleman's story reminds us that fame and light are not the same thing. Light is fragile. It flickers, it fades, and sometimes it chooses silence over spectacle. Behind every performance she gave was a reflection of herself. tender, uncertain, searching. She lived without armor in a world that rewards performance over honesty, and in that vulnerability lay both her brilliance and her undoing. Charlotte's fame was brief, but her shadow was infinite, the quiet kind that lingers long after the applause stops. Her life was not defined by how it ended, but by how deeply she allowed herself to feel while she was here. She was not just a star of her generation. She was a reminder that to be seen is one thing, but to be felt is something eternal. Her story asks us to remember not the headlines, not the roles, but the person who once made us believe in truth on screen. How many bright souls have burned too fast, leaving only warmth where their light once was? If you've ever felt the echo of Charlotte Coleman's laughter, or seen yourself in her quiet courage, share her story. Keep her flame alive, because some lights are meant to guide us, even after they're gone.